friends. As always, I saw the backlash to the backlash without ever seeing the initial backlash, but I hear tell that some of you think that Beyoncé's Renaissance isn't political enough, that she wasn't stuck in a time loop of releasing the Formation video over and over into infinity or something. And I promise I am not here to get into whether I think Renaissance is a political record or an activist record, or to dissect what making music with such Black, queer, and trans roots could mean in this moment, or to rehash that whole joy as a form of resistance argument we've been having to death since 2015. I think she said what she wanted to say, and she made what she wanted to make. And I had a good time. But if you're one of those people who are like, man, you know what I've been craving my whole life is dance music with an activist bent, and I don't think that I got that from Beyoncé, or I did get that from Beyoncé and now I want more, I want to share with you a few of my most favorite dance songs that are also protest songs. And if you stick with me, I want to talk about the magic thing that happens in the place where they meet.
Do you want to ride on the mothership? No, let me ride.
Let's start at the beginning with Parliament Funkadelic's Mothership Connection. Parliament was one of my first introductions to the idea of Afrofuturism. This is the song that they play at shows to invite a spaceship down to Earth. The idea is that it's coming to pick us all up from whatever this all is, to bring us to outer space, in the epitome of the idea that another world is possible that's better than this one, so we gotta go find it.
I push the facts in front of me. Facts lost. Facts are never what they seem to be.
This time I heard Talking Heads' Cross-Eyed and Painless. I was in 8th grade and my music teacher would have songs playing as we walked into class and got settled every day. One day, Cross-Eyed and Painless was on the speakers and I lost my absolute mind. It was one of my first experiences of being like, is this song drugs? Why is it setting off fireworks in my nervous system? It also feels lyrically even more relevant to our present post-truth media landscape than it was at the time of its 1980 release.
Let's get screwed. I don't care. You fuck the world up now. We'll fuck it all back down. Let's get screwed.
Janelle Monáe's Screwed is my favorite Janelle Monáe song by far. God, it is such an earworm for me. It's a song about sex, but it's also a song about our present political reality, and I just love how playful it is. There's room for both, that you can critique structures of power and still just be so fun.
All I need to do.
Speaking of power, The Temptations' Power is all about autocratic rule and cults of personality, and about the tension between building collective power and the siren song of the I alone can fix it style of leadership. And also, let's talk about the power of this choreography. Okay, we can't do this video without some anti-war songs. Peter Gabriel's Games Without Frontiers is where synth pop gets serious, featuring a Kate Bush chorus that I first misheard as "She's so funky, yeah." This is a song about the Cold War and how much the world's political leaders were behaving like petulant children. Same as it ever was, I guess. Bonus content, there's a little mutual admiration society going on between Arcade Fire and Peter Gabriel because they covered Games Without Frontiers, and then Peter Gabriel covered My Body is a Cage, and then most recently, they collaborated on a track called Unconditional, which is itself a social issue disco song about reaching across artificial human divides.
Back to questions with no answers. Cure for cancer, cure for AIDS. Make it wanna stay on tour for days. Get back home, things are wrong. When not really, it was bad all along before you left.
The Gulf War and Iraq War, Bush eras produced a really rich resurgence of anti-war protest music. I remember being a middle schooler and vibing to Green Day's American Idiot and Bright Eyes When the President Talks to God, but you know what you can't do to those songs? dance. That's why Outkast's Gulf War commentary, Bombs Over Baghdad, is the one that stuck with me most. It's a real feat that a critique of how little we value the vulnerable here or abroad manages to be more hype than histrionic.
Dance was a big help. Seems a gift. We're only living this instant.
Elvis Costello's Tokyo Storm Warning, a song that I danced to in my high school talent show, feels like a proto We Didn't Start the Fire. Jumping from Cold War to segregation and racism in the US to the Falkland Islands conflict between the UK and Argentina, there's a lot of ground to cover in 1980, it seems, which is almost kind of comforting that we don't live in the only time in history where it feels impossible to keep up with all the trouble.
Freestyle. Zone 1. Boy meets boy, boy loses boy, boy gets cute boy back.
Exiting anti-war territory, let's talk about Janet. I think when most pop stars set out to write a pro-queer song, they're like, okay, what I know about gays is that they like to be over the top, so I'm gonna be as bright and vibrant and effusive as possible. But Janet Jackson's Free Zone off the Velvet Rope is the chillest, smoothest anti-homophobia track I have ever heard. It's like, you can love who you want. I'm not bothered by it, and it really means it. She's so laid back about it. Honorable mention for Got Till It's Gone off the same record, which isn't itself a protest song, but it does sample the iconic Joni Mitchell environmentalist classic, Big Yellow Taxi.
I'm happy. I'm carefree. And I'm good. I was born this way.
I Was Born This Way by Carl Bean, but sure, also the other one by Lady Gaga, is a queer anthem that came out in a time of queer vilification. Carl Bean, though, was an openly gay disco artist. Much smarter people than I have detailed all the ways that the cultural backlash to disco in the late 70s and early 80s was really a backlash to the people who made it and the people who enjoyed it, mostly black, queer, and trans people. And as disco died out and queer culture was forced back out of the mainstream, dance music went underground. Disco evolved into genres like funk and new wave and house. So there's a direct line from Born This Way to Break My Soul, and I don't think that either artist is too concerned whether you find them to be protest music or not. I think what this entire lineage has to teach us is not like what counts as protest music or what percentage of, a lyric sheet has to be about a social issue for it to qualify as activism. What these artists model for us is that we would do well to stop trying to set aside activism as a separate kind of activity, an activist as a separate kind of person. Because when we set it so far apart from everything, we can say, oh no, I'm not one of those people. I'm not the type of person who goes to city council meetings, or I'm not the type of person who works on my neighborhood emergency plan. I'm too fun and cool. Or maybe I'm too career focused, or I'm too busy, or I'm too flawed. I think there's a size and a shape to protest or to participation that I don't fit. That citizens of the universe, I bring forth to you the good time on the mothership. Renaissance doesn't seem all that worried about whether it's a protest music or not, because it understands that no thread of the experience of being a person in this world can really be pulled apart from any other. The more that we think that someone or something needs to be activist all the time to be active at all, the less we feel like action belongs to all of us, or that there's room for it in our lives between making out with a stranger and going to a party and wearing a sequined miniskirt. If we see things as so all or nothing like that, if we keep our power at arm's length, then America has a problem, babe. Being present to pleasure as much as protest, seeing it all as part of what makes life fun, is how we close the gap between the world we're escaping on the dance floor and the future we'll be celebrating on it. Let me know in the comments your thoughts about Renaissance, or if you have any favorite protest dance songs to recommend. Let us know. And this video was brought to you by the Radish Collective, my community of Patreon supporters. You can join them at youtube.com/itsradishtime. I will see you soon. Bye.